Well, while we sit here and wait at this beautifully black loading screen, hello and welcome to everybody that will be tuning in tonight here for the Breakout Racing League's Formula One Tier 1 race at the beautiful Suzuka circuit. Opened in 1962, 18 turns and a few straightaways make up the beautiful 3.6 miles of this circuit. And as you can see, the amusement park off to the right-hand side of your screen is in full swing with the Ferris wheel moving around. Be nice if we could get up there to the top of that thing and get a good shot of the final chicane and down the front straightaway. Joining me tonight in the booth again is the ever-awesome Rick James. Rick, thank you for being here with us tonight. How are you?
Aldifer, my friend, thank you so much for having me here. Suzuka, one of the gems on the Formula One calendar. I love seeing these cars take these first few corners through the S's. What a sight, my friend.
It really is. We're riding on board with BRL Neymar. It just so happens that like every stream we do, it would seem that we get on board with one of the Hasses first as they start an outlap. Really kind of funny to see as many people on track right now doing outlaps. I really thought that some of these guys might have waited a little longer, especially the likes of Boss Cookie in the Red Bull. I thought that some of these guys might have waited a little longer for the track to rubber in some, but it looks like everybody is on their way out.
It's going to be an interesting start to this qualifying session, Aldifer. It's a narrow track by relative standards, but incredibly fast, which means the drivers have to be as precise as possible. Right now, as we're riding along with BRL Neymar, you can see, we are with Chandler Seta, pardon me. Chandler Seta in that Alfa Romeo now coming out of Spoon Curve, headed down into 130R. Just look how narrow the track gets. Each pass is going to have to be calculated.
Yeah, and there's really only 4 major braking zones. The teams calculate at every track the major braking zones that are there so that way the drivers know during every lap how many possibilities they have for an overtake and they have a decent go at it. At this track, you usually have about 4. You have one into turn 1 down there into the hairpin, one just after Degna Curve, and then one coming into the final chicane. And that final chicane has done a lot of things throughout the year. We've seen a lot of great racing throughout the year at the final chicane. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see maybe somebody try to do the same thing that we've seen Prost and Senna do at that final chicane as Chandler goes purple through Sector 1.
Chandler purple, and he just sounds lovely coming out of those Degner curves. Named for Ernst Degner, one of the drivers who unfortunately succumbed to injuries after crashing a Suzuki motorcycle there, the Suzuki 50 in 1962. Either way, so much great history. You mentioned Senna and Prost, the famous scene from the 1988, I believe, Formula One World Championship where he was excluded from the race, disqualified after coming together with his teammate and fierce rival in the penultimate race of that championship. The result being Senna having his license suspended for 6 months by the president of the FIA, Jean-Marie Balestre. Amazing history.
And that might have been close right there. Oh, yeah, Chandler's taking it into the pit lane. He was purple in both Sector 1 and 2, and then he just decided that he was going to cut the final chicane there, it looked like, and that deleted his lap time. But now at the top, we do have some times being set now. BRL Williams in that racing point sets a 126 flat. I was talking with some of the drivers during a drivers meeting just prior to the qualifying session. A lot of them are expecting that the pole time will be in the mid-25s. Some of them saying about 25.3. Some believe it could go as low as a 25.2. We're not quite sure as to what we need to expect here for qualifying, but I'm going to make a gander and make a bet that at least one driver is going to run a 25.5. What would you say, Rick? Would you agree with that?
With 13 and a half minutes left in this qualifying session, that means half a tenth has to be taken off this lap time, which is doable, but it's going to have to be an immense lap, possibly a bit of toe involved. Right now, the Keely Bryant, who sits just 2/100th behind BRL Williams in that Mercedes on a blistering lap, coming out of the hairpin, headed towards Spoon. And And there's his lap there. He gives up to one of the McLarens. That's B-Dunk, it looks like, getting around him.
We'll ride along with B-Dunk. We'll follow him throughout the rest of this lap. B-Dunk been doing very well this season, but one of the drivers that I believe has really stood out to me is going to be BRL Williams, the current pole sitter. He almost won an F2 championship last year, didn't race F1 at all for a year or two, and then immediately came back to BRL one morning and said, guys, I'd like to, submit my name. And he submitted his name and his race times and his TT times, and came out as one of the Tier 1 drivers, and he has been showing out well this year with a lot of good finishes. Hasn't won one yet this year, if I'm not mistaken, but he's been right there at the front, kind of just like Sergio Perez. He's always there, but sometimes he just can't get that little extra bit that he needs. But currently we have Chandler on an outlap, and Hoopalicious, and Boss Cookie as well.
Those three drivers on an outlap. I'm also looking at BRL Pirani, who's yet to leave the pits, but Pirani and Hoopalicious had a thrilling fight last week in Sochi that came down to the final laps. I expect to see grand things out of them, and again, Chandler Seda, who's now on that outlap in one of those alphas.
Well, now Chandler's starting his hot lap. Rick, would you mind just taking us through this hot lap on board with Alfa Romeo?
I would love to take us through this outlap now, right along with Chandler Seta coming through the S's, up the hill, out of the S curves, coming up to turn number 7, otherwise known as Dunlop Curve. Takes it all the way wide through Dunlop Curve, getting for Degner 1 and Degner 2. The first, all the way out to the rumble strip. Now the second, using those curves effectively out of Degner 2, headed into turn 10 and 11, hairpin. Look at the way he gets almost to that curve as well, but just using that line so efficiently. Now on the inside of the long sweeping right-hander known as 12. Here comes 13 and 14, the spoon curve. Almost a double apex, if you want to call it that. You can see he goes very wide on the exit of spoon. Now the run down to 130R. 195 miles an hour that V6 generates through the tight fast 130R. Now into Castillo Triangle. Look at him off the wheel there on a four-wheel trip. Out of the final corner, keep it to the inside. Full, strong finish as tight as he can. And that is a lap at Suzuka, headed 180 plus into turn number 1.
And he just set the new pole time. Everybody's now going to be chasing the Alfa Romeo drivers. He's just set a 125.9. Some of these drivers were talking about 130R, a corner that they feel like has been improved this year. And then also some of them were telling me, I actually had not personally driven on this track this year, so I did not know that they've actually removed that terrible bump that used to be right there on the exit of turn 18. Right as you came out of 17 and Castillo Triangle, you would throttle down as hard as you could, as early as you could, and you'd get right into the middle of 18, and there was this massive divot in the road that span all the way across the track. And if you hit it and you just didn't blip the throttle just a little bit, you would easily, rear end would step out, you'd head toward pit wall, and usually you could save it, but if you got just that little bit of snap oversteer during the save, it would go right out to the outside wall, and you would look like Robert Kubica really fast. But while we were talking about that, Hoopalicious has just set the new pole time. The Red Bull driver's showing out today with a 125.845, just over a tenth faster than Chandler Seda. We did see Chandler looked like he had a little bit of oversteer from the back end of the car complaining just a little as he went through the spoon curve. We saw that last time he went out. So we're going to pay attention now to Ryan. Ryan has invalidated his out lap, I think, and he's now going to start his first hot lap. We'll ride along with the Mercedes driver who's really been dominating this season. 204 mile an hour, keep it floored all the way through the first apex and slam all the way down to 100 mile an hour. Come out of that, and now you head into the S's. Very important to be in the correct gear for each one of these corners. Gears are such an important factor. Every time you turn in, try to keep it floored all the way up through Dunlop Curve, now headed toward Degna 1 at about 190 mile an hour. Leaves it banging in 7th, really up there hitting the rev limiter, using the curbing very well on exit. Didn't really use a lot of it on entry though. Coming up to the hairpin turn 11, all the way down to 2nd gear, then a quick short shift into 3rd to try to get more bite in those rear tires. We do have caution flags being waved in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Hopefully that does not affect this lap. Coming up into Spoon now, back into the throttle after you hit the first apex, then back out of it again, downshift, and then run out. Now coming down the straightaway, heading toward 130R. Easily flat through this corner with these cars, but it's still just mega scary as he purples Sector 2, going 195 mile an hour through that corner, coming into the Casio Triangle now, eating a lot of the apex curbing. He's going to use all of it he can. He's going to come back down toward pit wall, open DRS, and that's going to be the new pole time of a 125.68. Beautiful lap by the Mercedes driver.
With 7 minutes to go, I'm absolutely floored. 125.68 on the clock, and the bar has just been set by nearly 2/10 over Hoopalicious Alderford. The Kiwi was on a blitzing lap, and one thing I noticed compared to the previous lap that we watched by Chandler Safta, it was far more controlled, where Chandler, you could tell he was really on it and almost out of control. Ryan was going as fast as he could, but not forcing the limits of the race car. Just a fantastic lap. So now with 6.5 left, the gauntlet's been thrown down.
Well, and in the words of, the former BRL Tier 1 champion, ERS Ham Newton driving the Williams, he's always said that you are faster when you are under control. The car will make its way around the track better when you're smooth. If you're on top of the wheel, really fighting it around the track, you're gonna lose time. It's inevitable. So great words of wisdom that everybody should heed that races on this game from the former champion. Currently, though, we do have Hoopalicious on an out lap. BRL Williams has just pulled back into the pit lane after he just set a new fastest time for himself of a 125.846, 1,000th of a second slower than Hoopalicious in the Red Bull. So it looks like the Racing Point and Red Bull crew are going to be fighting each other throughout this whole race unless something changes within the last 5.5 minutes of this qualifying session. Chandler sitting in 4th currently, BRL Pirandi in 5th, B-Dunk in the McLaren in 6th. This is usually about where we see this McLaren driver. He usually runs somewhere in the top 10, more closer to the front of that midfield battle. We got Ginger Horizon in the Haas in 7th, Aus Formula in 8th, BRL Neymar in 9th as you see him being pushed back into the garage. And then we've got Master Berserk, who is retired from the session in the Mercedes. I did not even see that. That must have been what the yellow flags were for while his teammate was on a lap. Currently we see RBM Mary on a lap. She is currently running down to the hairpin, sitting in 11th with a 126.6. Currently, really, the entire field is only stretched out by about 1.5 seconds over qualifying. But what really surprises me is nobody that I've seen so far has tried to go out on the mediums and tried to go for that alternate strategy, Rick. Have you noticed that as well?
100%. I think everybody's focused on the soft tire because there's such a grand difference given that this racetrack is so relatively narrow. RBM Mary looks like she just purpled Sector 2 as now she's coming into the Casio chicane. Look at that, just smooth control out of 130R through Casio. Now sticking no, and there she goes into pit lane. So I don't know if she invalidated or what, but that's going to be it for her. Right now, all the first I'm noticing only about 5 to 6 cars on track with 3.5 now remaining.
Oh, and Hoopalicious just goes pole again. He beat that time set by the Mercedes driver, and he has just set a new fastest lap of the session of a 125.4. Now almost 1/10 and a few thousandths to spare in front of Ryan. Can this driver, he's not going to be able to get back to pit lane and throw another set of tires on and go again. He may have gone too early. The track evolution here is so strong, And once these Pirelli tires go out there and they get hot and they start laying the rubber down, the last minute and a half of the session is the fastest the track is going to be all weekend. You get a lot of bits of rub off and wear away on the track during the race. Kind of slows it down just a little bit. But I kind of feel like Hoopalicious might have gone too early with that lap. He might lose out here to maybe 1 or 2 drivers.
ERS Ham Newton finding himself in the 8th position. Now B-Dunk also out on track now, coming out of Casco Triangle 6th. Improves by 0.3 seconds. Boss Cookie now out in the 2nd Red Bull, just coming out of Dunlop Curve, Deer Hunter, GSRX, Alderfer. Everybody's out here in these final 2.5 minutes. You mentioned the track evolves and it only gets faster. Here we go. This is about to be exciting.
Well, yeah, and we're following along with our outside cameras as Boss Cookie was just going through the hairpin. He's pushing very hard for an outlap at this track, in my opinion. This is one of those tracks where you don't want to be pushing very hard on your outlap because the tire wear is so huge here in past years. Unless that's just something that's different this year, and I haven't been made aware of it because I have not personally driven this track this year, I feel like some of these guys are just pushing way too hard on their outlap. Boss Cookie actually just purpled Sector 2. Let's see what he can do. Bit of a lockup there coming into the Casio Triangle. He comes out of 18 now, foot to the floor, out of ERS. DRS opens, but it's only good enough for 8th fastest with a 126.3. We've got other drivers out on their outlaps right now. We have Oss Formula on an outlap. RBM Mary, Deer Hunter, GSRX, Ginger, BRL Perandi, Chandler, BRL Williams, and Ryan. Let's move up to Ryan and just see what he's doing. He's actually pushing pretty hard too, but he did come out kind of late. Maybe this track has changed a little bit this year, James. Is it now a track where you have to get heat in the tires and you have to have those fronts at like 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 90 degrees Celsius before you make that run into turn 1?
It depends on so many factors. Consistency is one of the hardest things that a driver can do for their race here at Suzuka. Ryan looks to be right on it, but so far I haven't seen any purple sectors. It's been green all the way through, but now out of Castillo with this number 97 Mercedes, out of Spoon, this number 97 Mercedes making a strong run. And out of Sector 2, so far it doesn't look like any massive improvements there. Hoopalicious just set up.
Well, he's still on an outlap.
Oh, is it? Look at that.
Well, he's still on an outlap. So
we'll
he's about to start his hot lap now. He's coming down through Casio with 20 seconds left. This is really the optimal time to come through and start your lap. We're going to follow along with BRL Williams as he is going up through Dunlop Curve, now making his way around through the corner down to Degner 1. Go through there, just touch the curb, and then barely glance it here on the apex, and then a lot of it on exit. Get the throttle down as early as you can, straddle the curbing on exit there, coming down into the hairpin, all the way down to 2nd gear. Saw he got a little bit of oversteer there, lost some traction on exit. That might hurt his time, but still, he's going to have track evolution in his favor over Hoopalicious. Let's see, as he comes out, we've now got yellows on the front straightaway. Track has been green though again. Now he comes down to the Sector 2 split. Let's see if he improves.
Wow.
He's improved, but very slightly, only by thousandths of a second. As Chandler goes with a 125.3. Somebody get me a beer. I won the wager. Let's check back with NZL Ryan as he comes through Spoon now, making his way onto the exit, using a lot of the curbing there. We've seen a lot of the drivers doing that today. Runs down the straightaway. This is where GP2 used to start their races, now known as Formula 2. He is down through 130R now at 196 mile an hour, still with a little bit of ERS left in the tank. And he invalidates right there on exit. He gets it right there in the Casio Triangle. That was going to probably be a 125.3 something if he would not have let off the throttle there. Look at BRL Neymar, the only car still out on track. Oh, and he's going to cut the chicane. He's going to say, forget it, I'll just stick with what I got, and I'll take fresh tires, thank you. So that's going to be qualifying over. And, James, that was quite a shakeup. Some drivers that I did not expect to be up there are up there. And one driver that I didn't think would be able to beat Ryan today is going to get the pole award. Chandler Seda with a 125.3, Hoopalicious with a 125.4, a full tenth back, and almost 2/10 off the pace is BRL Perandi in the Renault. NZL Ryan, the dominant driver this season, lines up on the second row of the grid in fourth, with BRL Williams in fifth and B-Dunk in sixth. Aus Formula in the Renault starts seventh with Ginger Horizon alongside in eighth. Making up row 5 of the grid is going to be Deer Hunter and Boss Cookie. ERS Ham Newton still a little off the pace this year. I was really hoping that it would come to him, but BRL Neymar, Master Berserk, and RBM Mary make up the top 14. So we have been talking about pit strategy earlier on today with the rest of the drivers. Everybody's saying that this is going to be a one-stop race, either from soft to hard or medium to hard. Well, everybody qualified on softs in the top 10, so everybody there basically has to commit to that soft hard. But what are the drivers from 11th back going to do today? Are any of them going to take the gamble and start on that harder compound, as it does look a little dark over the circuit right now, James?
I wouldn't gamble. If I'm starting in the back, I'm going to play the medium first. Give me the mediums first, because it's going to be very dicey. Positions will be lost due to cars going off track, cars being a little too aggressive in these opening laps. Given that Suzuka has so many passing opportunities, play the long game, put softs on in the end. But you just mentioned the dark skies over this lovely circuit. Anything is possible.
Yeah, I'm going to try to check the chat now to see if anybody has said if there is going to be rain for this race. So give me just a minute while I look into that.
Formation lap underway. Chandler Seda now ahead of Hoopalicious, starting third. That Alpha Red Bull combo starting from the front. So far, no raindrops, but it looks like everybody's on pins and needles. The number 91 of BRL, Perandi, starting off third. The pit strategy flashes up here, and there you see the 1 and 2 stop strategy between laps 8 and 19. We can expect to see some of these beautiful machines coming down this, not banked, but hilly pit road down.
Well, I am seeing something in the chat. Somebody did throw out the word enters. But nobody actually making mention of rain, but it is very dark here at the circuit right now. I would really love to know if it's going to rain in this race, because some of the guys were saying that you could take 130R in the wet flat out on a race fuel load. So I'd really love to see who's got the cojones in that cockpit to do that today. Let's take a look at who's on what tire and who's starting where. Chandler in first on the softs. Hoop on the softs. BRL Perandi on the softs. Everybody in the top 10 on the softs. Ryan, BRL Williams, B-Dunk, Aus Formula, Ginger Horizon, Deer Hunter, and Boss Cookie rounds out the top 10. First man to take the gamble with the harder tire is going to be Ham Newton. And BRL Neymar is going to do that as well, lining up alongside him. But right behind them, Master Berserk has elected for the hard compound tire, looking to go very deep into this race. He probably won't be making a pit stop till at least lap 17. RBM Mary on the medium compound tire as well, and both Alpha Tauris at the very back of the grid. Meanford and GSRX both starting on the medium compound. Only 16 drivers today, which might make it a little cleaner on the first lap going through the S's, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Lining up these cars now, that beautiful Alfa Romeo just ahead of Hoopalicious. Cars coming into formation, and so many drivers. Well, obviously the top 10 on softs, but I'm surprised that so many drivers went with mediums as well. You called Master Berserk in those hard compounds. Everybody's parked. Yellow flag in sector 3 as we wait for the red lights to come up. Green flag now.
I can hear the lights counting, but we can't see them now. I see them. All 5 lights are on, and it's go time. They're making their way down into the first turn. Chandler with a decent getaway with a very quick short shift into second gear, but look at the Renault. trying to challenge on the outside down into turn 1, but he's going to drop back. He's not going to do it. A lot of change of positions there in the back, and then everybody settles out again to make their way up through the Senna S's. We're going to look a little ways back at the battle that's happening behind the leaders. NZL Ryan battling with B-Dunk to hold on to that position. BRL Neymar is side by side with Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter gets a little understeer there as they go up through the Dunlop curve, makes contact with the left rear of the Haas, but they both make it through there cleanly. BRL Neymar making up a few positions. He's already passed ERS Ham Newton and Deer Hunter just in Sector 1. Let's see how that driver does the rest of the day. Ginger Horizon making the pass on Os Formula. Os Formula in the right spot. He's on the right-hand side of the track. That is the cleaner side right now. He's going to have the better line as they come up to Spoon. He's going to stay up in 7th place. Just riding on board, you can see they're really dealing with understeer back here in traffic, James, as Ginger almost goes off.
They have Ginger Horizon in that white and gray Haas, nearly going off that smooth curve, losing good position to Os Formula up ahead in the Renault. BRL Neymar in the opposite Haas and Deer Hunter in the Racing Point, also losing positions. And I'm surprised with the 11th place car of Deer Hunter now on those soft tires all the way back to 11th, going off just on that final corner again. So a rough first lap for the Racing Point. Chandler Seda 3/10 ahead of Hoopalicious. Perandi 3rd, the Kiwi Ryan 4th. B-Dunk rounds out the top 5.
And RBM Mary, I'm going to think, without making the detail change, let's just check. Well, she's not the biggest loser, but she's tied for it for the first lap exchange. She started the race up in 14th, and both the Alpha Tauris have made their way by the McLaren driver. She now finds herself 4 seconds behind them. Might have had a big, massive issue there during the first lap that we just didn't see. So unfortunate. Boss Cookie looks like he already has a time penalty now.
I can tell you all for that RBM Mary now 3.6 seconds off the pace. She went off in that first sector. That's what brought out the brief yellow flag. So far, it seems to be pretty tight as the top 8 cars separated here by just a mere few seconds. All the way through the back, however, Master Berserk holding 13th on those hards, and still no progression back into the top 10 from Deer Hunter on the softs. BRL Williams now overtaking B-Dunk for 5th, but B-Dunk takes it back into Casio.
And that was brave, going around the outside there at 130R at about 180 mile an hour. You really have to trust that driver on the inside to not roll that car out in the middle of that corner and get onto you, as BRL Williams makes a sharp dive toward the inside of the track to go defensive to try to keep the move made on B-Dunk. He's going to make it stick on the exit of the first turn. They're now going to go through the S's, and B-Dunk now being haunted by Os Formula right there on the gearbox of that McLaren, the Renault front wing looming.
Out of that Dunlop curve, Chandler Seda still leads, but now by 4+ tenths. Look at this, 5/10 of a second coming out of Begner's, headed into the hairpin. The Kiwi Ryan 6/10 off the top 3, and then the gap starts to really break up between the Haas of Ginger Horizon and the Red Bull of Boss Cookie, sitting almost 1.5 seconds off of 8th place. Alderfer, you couldn't say that Boss Cookie is holding the rest of the field up, but there's certainly a gulf in class between the top 8 and the remaining drivers.
Well, yeah, and we also don't know. Some of these drivers could have very minute amount of damage to that front wing. Sometimes, you know, you can hit the button on the MFD, the multifunction display that we have in these cars on the steering wheel, and it'll show you that there's very minute damage to the front wing, but it's just knocked off like a tertiary flap, or one of the turning vanes underneath the wing has come loose from some contact, but you don't actually see it in the game. So some of these guys back here, like Boss Cookie, who showed good pace during qualifying, could be dealing with something like that. Or if you have a lockup at this track, very easy to deal with that flat spot for the first few laps after that. Back up toward the front, though, Hoopalicious has closed in on Chandler. DRS has now been enabled. This fight for first place is about to get spicy as they go through Dunlop Curve and now headed toward Degner 1. just clapping the inside curve there and run all the way to the outside curving, back to the inside curving. What a beautiful track this is. You can use every bit of the circuit here, and it's so fun to watch these guys as they go around the beautiful Suzuka circuit. Chandler with a little bit of a hiccup there on the exit of the hairpin. Turn 11 really catching some of these drivers out. But let's remember, Chandler looked like he might have been dealing with a little bit of understeer during qualifying. That might be affecting him now as the tires begin to wear. Hoop looked like he might have been dealing with some oversteer. With that heavier fuel load, it might make it a little easier for him to handle here in the early stages of the race. He's so close to Chandler, there's no way that Chandler's going to be able to stay in front of him going down the DRS straight, James.
Now through Castillo one more time. That Red Bull of Hupel is just less than half a second behind. He's going to have the advantage of the toe and the DRS past that big old Ferris wheel down the front straight headed into turn 1. 2004, the last time that an Italian constructor won here. Look at this fire around the outside through 1 and 2, and the Alpha hangs on just barely, but look at the Red Bull fight back, clears him into the S's. What a move up the hill. Hupelicious, new leader. What a pass by that Red Bull.
And that young man, Hupelicious, in that Red Bull is basically the better version of Alexander Albon. He loves making the outside moves. He will take the car there. He does not care. He loves making those passes. He's very good at it, and he's very good at keeping the car on track, unlike some people at Red Bull we know. Sorry, Alex, you should be replaced. Looking back through the pack now, BRL Pirandi in third has Ryan right behind him. These guys have really been nose to tail. BRL Williams is there as well, and then there's a 1 second break of the DRS train back to B-Dunk, but B-Dunk has Aus Formula about 9/10 of a second behind him, and that gap is growing, and now B-Dunk 8/10 of a second from BRL Williams, so B-Dunk now in DRS range of the car in front. If these guys keep running like this, there's going to end up being a safety car. I can't see us going without a safety car this race.
The Kiwi Ryan now right behind Ron, the two drivers getting multiple warnings, and that's been enough for the stewards. Time penalties now issued. The two of Chandler Seda has completely lost the plot, now almost 1 second behind Hupelicious after that brave pass 1 lap ago, and now he has Pirandi and Moreno and the Kiwi Ryan applying the pressure, gently turning the screw through the S's section into Dunlop curve. Alderfer behind BRL Williams is B-Dunk in that first McLaren, who's also falling off the pace. 6 laps into this competition with so many drivers on the soft tire, I'm starting to believe they might have just worn all the good laps off this fresh rubber.
Well, I'm also starting to wonder what the pit window is. If they're going to go onto the hard tire, as B-Dunk goes very deep into the hairpin. If they're on the softs now and then they want to go to the hard tires, B-Dunk in overtake, deploying everything he's got in the battery reserve, trying to stay up there with the guys in front of him. B-Dunk really pushing the McLaren right now. If they start on the softs and then they go to the hards, what is that pit window? Probably around lap 9 to 11, you would think. Who's going to go for the undercut, go a little early? Well, and as you were speaking about Chandler and B-Dunk, we almost had a wreck on the front straightaway. It looked very close between Ryan and Pirandi. Pirandi sweeping to the right-hand side of the track right in front of Ryan, and then Ryan trying to make the move to the outside, just like we saw Hupelicious do, but Ryan unable to hold on to it as they went down into the first 2 turns. So very lucky that they got away with that there. But look at BRL Williams. He's just really sitting back here in that racing point like an assassin. He's waiting for them to make a mistake, and then he's just going to pounce right when they're not expecting it. Watch for BRL Williams. He's a very smart driver. Watch for him to wait for these two to get side by side in one of these slower corners and really slow each other up, and he'll square up the apex of the corner and get a really good exit and try to run out of it and beat them down a straightaway into the next apex. That's going to be fun to watch. Still waiting to see, though, who's going to blink first for the pit stop strategy. Oh, and it's going to be Boss Cookie in the Red Bull. Boss Cookie was fighting with BRL Neymar. We had just saw, as we were talking about the front runners on the leaderboard on the left-hand side, that Boss Cookie had just been passed by BRL Neymar. That probably took place in the final chicane, and then they might have fought over that all the way to turn one. Really wish that we could somehow get replays in this game. That would be amazing, so we could have seen what happened there. But a big loss of time for Boss Cookie, and now he's probably going to have a lot of tire damage. You see him run wide there. He's now struggling to get the car stopped. He's probably going to be the first person to hit pit lane and go for that harder compound tire. Meanwhile, his teammate leads the race. I feel like Charles is a player right now. I am stupid. I am stupid. I left my mic muted. Well, these things happen. These things happen with live streaming. So, but back up toward the front of the race. Currently, Chandler's 6/10 behind Hoopalicious. A few of the drivers have already blinked that were running up in the front. BRL Williams and B-Dunk, the first two that were running up toward the sharp end of this field to go in and box. How strong is the undercut going to be? Because BRL Williams was right on the back of Ryan and Pirandi. How much are those new tires going to help? Will he be able to make it by at least Ryan, maybe Pirandi? As the pit stop cycle happens, let's see. We're going to ride on board with the drivers and see who goes for pit lane and who doesn't. Hoopalicious now rounding the final corner. He's going to go for pit lane. Chandler going to follow him in. BRL Pirandi's going to extend, and he's going to take Ryan with him. Ryan now with DRS trying to catch up and make that move, but he's just not getting close enough. He's also not deploying the overtake button very hard, but look at how much he closes up on the Renault throughout 1 and 2. Well, we're riding on board back here with BRL Williams. He is only a second astray from Hoopalicious, who was the leader, who was about 3 seconds in front of him as we've just seen him purple sector 1. I'm surprised to actually see they've put mediums on that car. Everybody boxed for mediums. So are they making this a two-stop race because they're expecting rain? It's the only thing that makes sense, because everybody in the pre-race meeting was saying that the two-stop was an idiotic strategy, so there must be rain in the forecast at some point in this race. But the longer that Pirandi and Ryan stay out, they're now losing to to BRL Williams in the racing point, he is going to jump them no problem. And it looks like he might be a little faster on this tire than Hoopalicious as well. Yeah, and we're riding on board looking back over the rear wing of the racing point. You can just barely see Chandler as we go through Dunlop now. You can't see Pirandi or Ryan at all. He has dropped them by making the undercut work. So now, how is this going to affect the rest of the race? My apologies. No, my apologies. My mic for some reason turned off. But anyway, we were talking earlier that for the pit stop strategy, everybody was saying that the one stop was the way to go. The two stop was just killer. It would not work here. So all these guys that have come out on mediums, I don't think that they can take those tires 18, 19 laps to the end. They're going to have to box again. So at some point, they're expecting rain. So how long until the rain gets here is my biggest question now, James. You want to put a wager on it? Oh, it's going to be RBM Mary. She's off on the exit of 2. Looks like she must have made contact with another driver. She now brings it onto the track. She was sitting on the exit curbing there. Very unfortunate for her. Sorry to cut into you, but I just figured that had to be said. As now ERS Ham Newton has spun it around at Dunlop, which is something that's not hard to do in these cars, honestly. It's not surprising to see at least one driver dump it going up that, up that uphill left. Very easy to do. The car becomes unloaded on the rear end in a very strange way up that left-hander. So not surprising to see somebody make a mistake. It is surprising to me, though, that it's Ham Newton that has made that mistake. Back up toward the front, though, we've got Master Berserk on that hard compound tire, still chasing down BRL Neymar. Could these guys have made the right decision when they started below the top 10 and they went for the harder compound tire to stretch out and extend this first stint? Are they going to make it to the rain? Oh, as Master Berserk has gone off at the exit, looks like he lost the back end, got a big snap oversteer trying to save that car, and now he's stuck in the runoff area there trying to bring it back on track in a safe manner. I applaud you for not just swinging that ghosted car back out on the track. I really do applaud you for backing up and making the conscious effort. But now that's going to promote Axe up to second, Meanfern up to third now. So both AlphaTauris have come from the dead back of the field to now run in the front 3 in the podium positions. But both these cars have yet to stop. Our front 3 drivers have not stopped in this race. Everybody behind them except for Master Berserk and RBM Mary have stopped during this race. So how much longer are they going to go on the medium compound before it starts to give out? My estimate's probably going to be around lap 14 to 15. We'll start seeing them getting ready to box for new tires. But is the rain going to show up by then? We just saw yellow flags in Sector 1. I believe that was for the Red Bull of Boss Cookie. Boss Cookie not having a very good day here at all. He struggled in qualifying. Just hasn't really shown much race pace today. He's on the hard compound tire trying to go what looks like to the end of the race, because we have seen before in Tier 1 where it starts raining and these guys don't pit. They stay on the hard compound tire, or the dry compound tire. They don't go in for the groove tires. So very, very educated to know when that delta split is there, as we see BRL Williams throwing it up the inside of Mean Fern through turn one. He is staying right on the back of the Red Bull like glue on a paper tray. He has not left the gearbox of this Red Bull since they came out of the pit stops. But currently Chandler is now going to get held up by Mean Fern, who's on that slower old tire right now, for at least the rest of the lap. Yeah, Hoopalicious on the newer tires. We'll take a look here on our detail screen. BRL Neymar has been on those tires since the start of this race. He's got 13 laps of wear on that tire. Remember, he started outside the top 10, so there's no qualifying wear on that set of mediums. But he is now diving into the pit lane. Let's see what tire he goes for. Is he going to go for the hard, or is he going to go for a softer compound? Let's see what he picks, because depending on what he gets on this car is really going to tell us if it's going to rain or not. It looks like they're throwing the hard compound tires on that car. You can see the white lettering on the sidewalls of that tire. So full order now restored at the front with Hoopalicious in the lead, but he's got BRL Williams right there in the racing point on the gearbox. Oh, as Williams goes wide, and he's going to pick up a time penalty for his little excursion there off the track. Very easy to do to try and carry too much speed through Dunlop. Look at Chandler now. Chandler is now sitting right behind him. Chandler was about a second and a half behind BRL Williams just before this lap. So BRL Williams losing out big, having to dump a lot of throttle off that car so that way he didn't have a major moment there while he was off on his little lawnmower excursion. Well, now this is a little strange to me. BRL Williams just had the chance to open DRS as he went down the start-finish straight, and he didn't do it. He did not open that rear wing flap to make the car at least 8 or 9 mile an hour faster, 12 to 15 kilometers faster down that straightaway for top-end speed. So very strange there from the Racing Point driver, as he's lost touch now with Hoopalicious. That little excursion got the tires dirtied up. Now he's having to rework his way up to the back of Hoopalicious. He has to stay within a second of that Red Bull, or else he's going to fall prey to Chandler, because Chandler looking very fast now in the Alfa Romeo. Looking at the battery charge for our front five drivers, look at Hoopalicious with 80% battery charge in that car. This is the turbo hybrid V6 era, so these cars have a V6 internal combustion engine, but then they also have an ERS system which allows them to deploy up to 160 brake horsepower to the rear wheels of this car. And then they've also got that beautiful turbo in there. These guys make a lot of horsepower whenever they've got that ERS management system turned into overtake. But again, Hoopalicious has 70%. BRL Williams has about 15. Chandler with about 40. BRL Parandi with 20. And same for Ryan. Ryan has about 20 as well. So a lot of these guys are using deployment to try and keep up with Hoopalicious, who is barely deploying anything and keeping that Red Bull on the track and doing very well. love to see the Red Bull on the top step of the podium today, but I've got a soft spot in my heart for the Racing Point driver, who you see him getting a bit of snap oversteer there on the exit as he goes under the bridge. As weather conditions may change, that bridge may become a huge factor. If it does start to rain, you'll have a wet track there on exit, and then you will have a dry track right there under that bridge as you're in that heavy throttle zone. So it's going to be all about who wants to get on the power the earliest right there as they come into that little dry portion of the track. If it does start raining, we do see 2 drivers currently out on track now with the soft compound on, which makes me think that it's not going to rain. They've elected to go for the soft tire to try to put some banger laps in, maybe, just maybe, try to make up a few positions off other drivers' mistakes. But currently, Hoopalicious a second clear. That's going to put BRL Williams in the danger zone, but he did get DRS this time by. Good for him. And we've got a lot of maneuvering going on here. B-Dunk has made his way by Meanfern as the Alpha Tauri has finally decided to come into the pit lane. Let's see what he boxes for. Looks like that's going to be the soft compound tire. So he made mediums to softs work. How is that going to help him for the rest of this race? He's got a pretty good gap down to RBM Mary. Should be able to stay well clear of the McLaren driver. And yes, he does. He's going to rejoin the track in 13th with RBM Mary setting the new fastest lap of the race, James. It's getting very punchy here with about 10 to go. And let's not forget, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen right now, you'll see that BRL Williams is holding on to a 3-second time penalty, and so is BRL Pirandi. So now as we scroll to the interval screen, which currently is not working, there we go, now it is. It looks like he is going to be exactly, just over 2.5 seconds clear of Ryan. So he's got to try to put time on Ryan if he wants to stay on the podium today because of that 3-second time penalty he has. He doesn't have to worry about Pirandi because Pirandi has one too, but he does have to worry about Ryan in that Mercedes back there. We do know that Ryan has a lot of good pace in that car toward the end of these races, so we'll have to really watch here with the Racing Point driver to see what happens with him in the closing stages here. Well, on this track, honestly, you have quite a few different overtaking opportunities. If you have a good car that's good in traffic, and you got some decent tires on the car, you haven't worn the performance off of them, the outside of turn 1 is a good spot. But the spot that I really love the most, if you can time it just right, is around the hairpin, turn 11. If you can get right on the back of that car in front of you going through the Degna curve, it'll unsettle them just a little bit that, oh my gosh, he was able to get that close to me and follow me through Degna. How good is this car? And play mind tricks with the driver in front of you. And then get down to that hairpin and just kind of throw it into that braking zone. Make sure that the driver in front can see you making that throw. But it's a beautiful spot to make overtakes as they come up to that point right now. The other really good spot is going to be the final chicane, the Casio Triangle, 16, 17, and 18. Really, you start the overtake in 16, but you complete it in 17. Very rare that you start it in 16 and complete it in 16. Most drivers get alongside on the outside for 16, and then that gives them the inside line for 17. Then it's really a drag race through 18. You've really got to put the power down. The most beautiful spot to make an overtake here on the last lap is going to be the Casio Triangle. If anybody can get it done, it's going to be this gentleman right here, BRL Williams, as we have yellows on the front straightaway. That's going to be for Boss Cookie. Looks like he retired in the pit lane, so the Red Bull driver not happy with his car today. He's decided he's not going to be able to get up in the points. Might as well just stop putting miles on that engine power unit. Back up at the front, though, BRL Williams still only 4 tenths behind Hoopalicious. He's just really kept the car here. He doesn't have much battery charge, though, whereas Hoopalicious has almost 70% in his reserves. So he has a huge advantage over the driver behind him as we see a pass happening now into turn 1. BRL Neymar's just made his way past Deer Hunter, but he's going to get jumped by Deer Hunter, I believe. Yeah, he's probably going to get jumped by Deer Hunter at the end of the race unless Deer's just really fallen off the pace because Neymar sporting a 3-second time penalty. Let's run through all the time penalties now. In the field, you have BRL Williams with 3 seconds, the Renault of BRL Pirani with 3 as well, and B-Dunk with 3 now. Ginger in the Haas sporting a 6-second time penalty that'll be added on at the end of the race. BRL Neymar with 3 seconds, as we said just a minute ago. GSR Axe with 3 seconds. RBM Mary sporting a 3-second time penalty. And the huge surprise for me, ERS Ham Newton in the Williams on that soft compound tire has 9 seconds of time penalties, and he is way adrift from everybody else. Yeah, and we see Chandler just looks like Chandler keeps making little mistakes. Chandler has the pace to stay right here with BRL Williams, but it would just seem that the Alfa Romeo is not really up to his par at this time. As we've been following along at this battle for the front 3, we've seen him lock up and go deep multiple times, and he loses a lot of time, and then he gains it right back really quick, almost at the snap of a finger. So if he could just get that car to stay planted underneath of him, he could possibly make the pass on Williams and go try to hound Hoopalicious. But he might be playing the end game here, really just hoping, as you see the red rain light flashing on the back of the racing point as he is recharging some going down the straightaway. It wouldn't surprise me if Chandler's hoping that BRL Williams gets up there and hounds the first place driver into a mistake that ends up slowing both of them tremendously, so that way he could try and have a go at it. Look, Hoopalicious is going to be able to remain out in front again for another lap. He's got the superior battery charge, but look at just how much the Racing Point can throw it into that first turn. Following up through the S section now, the S curves, really you feel like the car just flows through here. Once you get the gearing right and you have the right wings and a good suspension underneath you that you're happy with, the car really just is so planted through there. And same with Degna 1 right here. You can carry so much speed. It's insane. We see a little bit of a lockup from the Red Bull driver in front. BRL Pirani picks up another 3-second time penalty. Hoopalicious just seems a little bit faster as they go under the bridge there. So he's pulled it out to 7/10 of a second now. I do know that there's some stuff going on back in the pack, but this battle for the front 3 is something to marvel. You don't see this every day in Formula One. What's that? RBM Mary off in Sector 1 again, having a mistake there, it would seem, because she looks like she would have been running by herself or possibly racing Master Berserk, but it looks like RBM Mary just not happy with the car at all. You see it going wide out there, plowing into the sand trap. RBM Mary really struggling with that McLaren right now. But look at BRL Williams. He was just 0.8 of a second adrift. Now it's almost 0.2, under 0.3 of a second as they go into the first turn. He's really starting to challenge Hoopalicious as they go down the start-finish straight now. No. I was looking at the chat in the for the stream. If anybody that's watching right now can jump in the chat, I love to get your predictions. Who do you think is going to win this race? Is it going to be Hoopalicious, or is BRL Williams going to be able to make a pass on track to try and get by him and win this race on track, but then lose it from the podium, or excuse me, lose the race due to that time penalty that you see him sporting? Or can Chandler make a massive push here in the last few laps to try to win this race on track? Give me your predictions in chat, guys. Let's start seeing what you all think our Tier 1 drivers are capable of. As we see BRL Williams hounding the back gearbox of that Red Bull again as they go into turn 1. He gets so close going down the front straightaway, but BRL Williams just doesn't seem to have the battery there to deploy to really make that overtake work. Do you think that Williams might just be okay with sitting here? He's been checking with the race engineer. He knows that he's got the time back to Ryan to hold on to the position. He's had somebody tell him that Pirandi has those penalties and he's clear of him too, and he'll get a podium as long as he just rides here. Do you think that might be what the Racing Point driver's doing? So we've only got 2 laps left in this Formula 1 BRL Tier 1 Japanese Grand Prix, and we see that Williams right there again on the gearbox of that car, but it just doesn't seem like he's really moving to make that overtake. Some people believe that the BRL Williams might try to make a move around 130R on the outside. That's bold. That's very bold, UFR Grand. Very bold idea, especially as the tires wear down. But the fuel load is also very low on the cars now. The cars are almost back to their qualifying fuel load. So the cars should be handling okay on these used tires. But again, BRL Williams with that penalty might just be okay with sitting here, knowing that he's going to get third. Chandler, again, as well, might be thinking the same thing, that he cannot get up there and pass him on track, so he's okay with just sitting there in third on track, but he will get the second place, the second step on the podium because of the time penalties that Williams has. However, Hoopalicious, I do believe, might have a warning or two. We have seen him really kind of going over a lot of the curbing. You see him eating a lot of the curbing there. He eats a lot of it there as well. It wouldn't surprise me if he might just go a little harder, and now he's got overtake on. Williams might try something here down the front straightaway. He's getting very close. Can he get close enough to make the run into one? He tries to go down. He is down the inside. He's trying to make the move. No, he can't make it stick. The Red Bull, Aston Martin Racing, will hold on to it as they go up through the S-turn. Well, you can see. Well, you can see right now on board with the Red Bull. Look at the telemetry down in the bottom right corner. Just 2 laps ago, I told all of you that he had 70% battery left in that car. Look at him using the overtake button now. Is he going to purple sector 2? He's on a very fast lap right now. Nope, he's a 1/10 and a half off, but he's deployed everything he's got in the battery. And look, Chandler right on the back of the Racing Point as they go into the final chicane, coming down through Siano Corner, or the triangle, excuse me, but it's going to be Hoopalicious, your winner. Chandler Cieda will bring it home in 2nd place, and BRL Williams will lose out, but he'll still be on the podium. Unfortunate for him that he had the time penalty. Let's look a little further back. Do we have any races coming toward the line? GSR Axe close to the driver in front, but not close enough. Master Berserk close to Mean Fern. Is he going to be able to get close enough to make a move coming into the chicane? Look at the deployment. Look at the closing speed of the McLaren. He's going to go driver's left. This is the way to do it. He'll have the inside line on 17. He makes the move stick. He's going to go through 18 with a snap oversteer. It's now a drag race to the line. It's going to be Master Berserk for 12th. He's going to get passed by Mean Fern at the line due to penalties. ERS Ham Newton will bring it home in 14th. A shame for him. He looked like he had top 10 pace. Had that issue happen early on in the race. We saw him spun out there at the Dunlop curve about midway up the hill. So unfortunately, he's going to bring it home in 13th as Ginger Horizon DNF'd. Did Ginger... Oh, Ginger Horizon must have DNF'd on the last lap of the race. RBM Mary's going to bring it home in the final running position, though the McLaren driver really struggled with the car today. Just did not have the feel that she wanted in that McLaren, but still just great to see as she comes home in 14th position. But your winners today, your big winner today, is going to be Hoopalicious, with Chandler right behind him in 2nd, and finishing out the podium will be my good friend BRL Williams. GSRX driver of the day. Well, we're going to check on that. Who should be the driver of the day? Let's wait until the board comes up. Let's see who gained the most positions. Let's see who had the biggest struggles and overcame everything they possibly could have for this race. We wait for the boards to come up, but we do see people in chat with a lot of stuff being posted here. Appreciate all of y'all in chat. I got a great speaking voice for an American. That's pretty good. I'll enjoy that, seeing as how I'm a Texan. I'm kind of hiding the accent a little bit here as much as I possibly can. But Hoopalicious in the Red Bull takes the win. I'm going to have to give that to GSR Axe for driver of the day. Wouldn't you say, James? He started in 16th all the way dead last, ran that very alternate strategy to promote his AlphaTauri all the way up to 9th. And Mean Fern as well started in 15th. He promotes himself all the way up to 12th. Yeah, it really was a good cracker of a race, and we've always had amazing mega races at this track in every format that BRL races. We've had Formula One, we've had V8 supercars, Australian V8 supercars, which I personally had a lot of fun in. Really wish that we would have continued that, but it was on that terrible Project Cars 2 game. And we'll also be here, I believe, for the Blank Pain Championship with the GT3 cars this year for BRL. BRL now racing on Assetto Corsa Competizione. So a lot of visits that we have to this track, the Suzuka GP circuit, and it's always a mega race. And we do have some of the drivers joining the party now. We have Chandler in here and Hoopalicious just waiting on BRL Williams to join the party. There he is. He has made it. If all of y'all could please just do me a quick favor and make sure you hit that checkbox at the top. We're going to go ahead and start with BRL Williams. Mate, you had a good drive today. You started around, what was it, 5th or 6th? And yeah, 5th, and you were able to promote yourself up to 2nd on track with that mega undercut. And then you picked up that time penalty that really hurt you, and then ever since then it felt like you just decided you'd sit behind the Red Bull. So you believe that you're going to send that into the stewards and it may get overturned and you may be promoted back to 2nd? Was there any point in time in that race where you decided that you were just going to sit behind Hoopalicious? Nobody could hear me for the last 20 laps of the race? Oh. No, my phone died, bro. I ain't looking at that thing. Did you see how much action there was on track tonight? I wasn't looking at my phone. All right, well, we'll move on then from BRL Williams as he's trying to get his audio to work. We'll come back to the P3 Racing Point driver. We'll move on to Chandler, who finished in 3rd on track, had a lot of... Who just said that? What do you mean your audio can't be included? RIP. What the hell? Here, I'll start a new party and then we'll try to do this. Hold on. All right, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We're having some sort of an issue with our audio here. Apparently, everybody can hear me, but they can't hear anyone else, which, I mean, let's be honest. You all really just tuned in to hear my sweet, sultry Southern accent. You didn't tune in to hear any of these guys, but I really want to hear from the top 3 because a lot happened today that I really want to talk about with them. So hopefully we can get that figured out as we're getting everybody back into this new party that I've just made. Can everybody please tell me if you can hit that checkbox and it's working this time? Yeah, yeah, I can hear y'all. Is it? Okay, well, since y'all's mics aren't working, just kind of give me a rundown of your race, Hoopalicious, and then I'll break it down in the stream. Okay, so basically we had Hoopalicious just telling us he's on the mobile app. He's had a mic issue, but he did give us a quick breakdown of his race. He went in and got that new tire and then just really held on to his battery like we were watching him do for the majority of the race, and then just really kind of pumped it out as needed. So great race from you today. I was really hoping to see you win because your teammate was really not doing well today, struggling with the car. He had quite a few off-track lawnmower adventures. So very good to see. Yeah, well, at least it's good to see, Red Bull still scoring points. I'm really sorry to everybody in the chat that wanted to hear from Hoopalicious. He did give a great description of his race. I just broke it down real quick for y'all. We'll move back to BRL Williams. hopefully we've got you working now to where we'll be able to hear you. So walk us through what happened with your race. You started off in 5th. You made the undercut work, and you jumped both Ryan and Perandi and Chandler because they stayed out for so long. We were really wondering how that pit delta was going to work out. So just walk us through everything after that pit stop. Well, it seemed like you were doing really well whenever you were about, 7/10 to about a full second behind him. But then it seemed like as soon as you closed that gap, your car really didn't handle well on the suspension with that lack of downforce. As you got closer to the back of that Red Bull, it seemed like you started having all of your off-track excursions at that point. And then about lap 16, we started wondering if you would ever really try to make a pass on Hoopalicious. We were starting to think that you were just okay with hanging out there, knowing that you would still be on the podium with Perandi's penalties, but then it seemed like you wanted to go for it there at the end. Yeah, we saw that you had basically no ERS that was available to deploy, and that was really unfortunate. Could have been a much more exciting race there at the end. You did make that one lunge. You did make that one lunge there on the first turn of the final lap. Really looked like you might have been able to stick it on the inside, but then it looked like the front tire grip just faded away. So it's unfortunate, but it was a great race for you. We can't wait to see you next week. Next week we're going to be at, let's see, we're going to be at USA. Yes, we're going to be in Austin, Texas. My homeland. Got to love it. So you better win that race, Texas boy. Right, right. Well, that's something to definitely sit down and talk at the drivers' meeting about. We'll say goodbye to BRL Williams for the night. Williams, great to see you on the podium. Hopefully that will be reviewed by the stewards, and they'll have a look at that time penalty. We'll let all of you know next week what the final decision was for the podium of this race, whether it'll be Williams in second or third. So we'll find out probably later tomorrow with the stewards' decision. We'll get back to y'all and let y'all know what happens there. But we're going to go and speak now with Mr. Rick James. Rick, what a race that we just watched. We had such excitement on track the whole time, and it's always great to have you in the booth with me. I really appreciate you coming up here every week to listen to my irritating Southern accent and have a good time. Yeah, and let's talk about that. Next week we go to the Americas. We go down into the beautiful Lone Star State of Texas. We make that long drive down I-35 and then hop on the tollway to run over to COTA. And let's talk about COTA real quick. It's a track that's very hard on tires. They took the asphalt for that track directly out of the Texas clay and the Texas rock. Which is very well known for being very abrasive on tires. We've seen a lot of different strategies happen there. 1 stops, 2 stops, all different kinds of tire variations on those 2 different strategies. Who do you think could be a possibility to come out on top there? Because we've seen the likes of Ryan really dominate the beginning of the season. Now we see Hoopalicious really coming into his own here toward the end. Williams, Chandler, they're both starting to show up there in the top 4, top 3 all the time. Who do you think we could see running at the top there next week? Well, and we've seen B-Dunk do very well at the abrasive tracks. He's very good when it comes to tire strategy and tire maintenance. One of the better ones in the field at it, actually, if I might say so myself. So I agree. We'll probably see great things from the McLaren camp next week. Hopefully, B-Dunk and RBM Mary work together to figure out their issues that they had and get that all squared away. But let's talk about the likes of Boss Cookie tonight, not really having the greatest race. How is he going to bounce back next week? As a driver, with the driver's mentality, it's so hard to bounce back from a race like this. What does he need to do to put himself back in the right mindset, to put in that banger quali lap, and then do a great race strategy and really see it through to the end? And COTA is one of those tracks, too, that takes after a lot of other tracks. You see, what would that be? Probably turns 2 through 4 really mimic Maggots and Beckett's from Silverstone. And then you have that very hard left hairpin, kind of mimics the exact opposite of what we see from Austria. So we're going to see a lot of different strategies play out next week. And hopefully we might see a first-time winner this year. But that's going to do it for us for the night. We're going to have, let's see, we'll be back here exactly the same time at 10 p.m. Eastern in the United States for more Breakout Racing League Formula One Tier 1. at the United States Grand Prix. It's been a pleasure to be here with